Are you all caught up on podcasts? Are you tired of listening to the same music over and over and need some fresh new tracks? Well, look no further. Gnome here, and I'm teaming up with the Hater, the Tailgater, the Tirade, and Zuck's favorite prisoner. That's right, Jake from the Bleach Bros podcast. We are bringing you the Hateful Gnomes Music Hut, a bi-weekly mini podcast all about music. We are covering music recommendations, bands, personal stories, concerts, even why Jake listens to the Beeves. Make sure you are following both the Bleach Bros and the Dads on Daypool for updates. Episodes are alternating on both feeds. Raise the curtain, hit the lights, turn the dials to 11, horns up, we are live, baby.
Bleach Bros podcast is proud to align itself with Jerky Pro, a beef jerky manufacturer established by military and paramilitary veterans.
Available in 3-ounce or 1-pound bags with great flavors such as honey glazed, teriyaki, red hot, apple cinnamon, original, peppered, sweet barbecue, and if you're ballsy enough, nuclear.
Be sure to use our promo code to get some of the best jerky on the market. Use Bleach Bros 5, all lowercase, to take advantage of this offer today.
I am Tyler Havlin. I am the big, the bald, the beautiful, the brash, and the oftentimes bastardly host of the Inner Idiot podcast. And you are currently listening to While I Masturbate, the Bleach Bros podcast.
Welcome into the Bleach Brothers podcast. This is B-Word, and as usual, I am here with Jake.
Animal! Ha, ha,
ha. I've got to tell you, dude. So I know you came in with the little animal sound, right? And for people who don't know, he was trying to be Animal off of the Muppets.
It wasn't that bad.
It was terrible.
It's better than your Joker.
It was better than my Joker. You're correct.
Okay. I'll let you continue. Sorry.
So we have an interesting rundown tonight that we don't typically do episodes like this. But what I find is really funny is that you actually came up with the title of this episode like at least a week prior, but it actually comes off of a previous episode that we had where you were talking about Reba being a Muppet. And while I don't really want to dissect that just yet, I have to tell you, so I create all the graphics, right?
Right.
So for every episode graphic, we have a new one for every single episode. I try to at least customize it to be something of that nature. Right. And for this episode, I've got a blurred out photo of Reba. And what I was trying to do was trying to find some sort of arm that would go like up her butt and like play with her mouth or whatever. And it just became too difficult, right? So I was like, okay, this isn't going to work. So I started looking for like redheaded Muppets, right? Understanding your title that you wanted here. And the only redheaded Muppet I could find was on Sesame Street, and it's the autistic Muppet.
Which would have been real bad.
I didn't want to like match that up with the title that you know, Reba's the only Muppet you want to bang, because especially with the only autistic Muppet as our cover for this week, I just really think that would be bad.
Spectrum fisting.
Yeah.
We went there anyways. Because, dude, okay, I'm going to say, all right, let's just get into it. Reba McEntire, I don't know why, but her smile, and I love her. I love her music. I love her acting. I think she's great. She reminds me of a fucking Muppet, though, dude. And
I can't see it.
I would bang her. And so I would bang a Muppet, I guess, if she's like a real life. If Muppets came to life, you know, and they de-cartoonized or de-puppetized themselves and walked into reality, I think Reba in a previous life was a fucking Muppet, if that makes sense.
No, it doesn't.
Some weird
because
way.
I don't see Reba as a Muppet.
See, I just don't. Here's the thing. It's like how you can Simpsonize yourself, right? Like you can make yourself into the Simpsons cast. I guess that would be easier to find Reba McEntire as a Simpson rather than Reba McEntire as a Muppet. But then again, just look at her with her short hair where it's like sort of frizzed up and just smiling at you. Like, go look up that picture online and you'll be like, oh, I almost see it there. And then you can imagine a hand up her ass or whatever you really gets you going with Muppets B-word. That's your thing, but I'm just saying.
Well, so, you know, you came up with this rundown and this is, I think, a really good rundown. Obviously, well, you came up with it, I want to say 2 weeks in advance. And so we just ran with it because it turned out to be pretty good. We've had a lot of fan interaction on our socials for for some of the questions we're going to be dealing with tonight, and we'll get into that too. But this one's going to be Muppet centric, and like I have some memories about Muppets for TV shows and movies and all that sort of stuff. But I actually have a very solid memory with you. I think I introduced you to a specific Muppet movie. Do you remember that?
Okay, so the reason this rundown came to be, and we'll be very upfront here, is you were having a little bit of a hard time. You've had a hard past few weeks, just being upfront. Yep. I mean, you talked about some of it on the show, but and we do usually we'll go back and forth and say, hey, here's what our rundown's going to be, and right. And so I decided to take the reins because for the last 2 weeks I came up with the rundown. So if the episodes suck, blame it on me, everybody. But just being honest, but it's the point that I think when I see Muppets, I think B word. And the reason is because when we were little, I don't know how little, I think we still had to be like in high school. So, but I guess it's little now, right? Like we're in like ninth grade.
I think we're probably talking like ninth grade. Yeah.
Yeah. Ninth grade.
I don't think either of us could drive.
No, I came over to your house though, and you were like, hey, let's watch Muppets from Space.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay. And you're like, you've never seen Muppet? And you got like that whole like attitude, like, what the fuck's wrong with you? How have you not seen this? You know what I mean? And I could argue that way about like The Dark Crystal or Land Before Time, of course, or The Goonies. But it was the fact that like, I watched this movie with you and just seeing how starstruck, like, in awe you were during this whole fucking film.
Oh, it's a fucking great film.
And it is a good film, but it was just so funny. I'm looking over at you going, holy shit, B-word's all about it. I was waiting for the titty scene, like not in Muppets, but I'm saying like the titty scene for the aspect of like Terminator, where you were like, hey, we should watch Terminator. And I was like, okay. And I came over and we didn't watch Terminator. You just turned on the sex scene and you're like, all right, that's all we need to see. We put it back to video games. So I was waiting for Muppets for like 2 scenes. I was waiting for you to fast forward going, all you need to watch is this. And all you need to watch is that. And okay, well, let's get back to video games. No, we sat and watched this whole movie as 9th grade boys in your living room with your little brother running out in his diaper or underwear nonstop, and you tell him to go away. And I always have thought Muppets with you. And so it just got me thinking, like, we break down movies, we break down shows, we break down characters, music, everything, right? Like, why not break down the fucking Muppets?
So I love the Muppets, dude. I love damn near everything about the Muppets. Like, I am not a cartoon watcher, but I will watch Muppet stuff. Like, I don't know why that's different to me. Maybe not like Muppet Babies, where it's still the cartoon. But I love watch Muppet Babies. I mean, I liked it when I was a kid. No. I liked it when I was a kid. I just won't watch it today. It's just a cartoon.
I'll give you that.
Know. Yeah. So this kind of got me thinking. I want to get into this rundown with you. You kind of created the rundown. So why don't you take us through some of the bullet points where we're going to go?
So tonight we're going to talk about if we were a Muppet, who would we be and why? And like an existing Muppet, not like they went and made a Muppet out of us, which I think would be cool to have a puppet of myself. I could shove my own hand in my ass in another way. But
now, that's really interesting.
Fisting on the spectrum.
Yep. So for clarification, we're dealing with Muppets, not Sesame Street, correct?
I do have a distinct clarification. I know it's Jim Henson. See, I also don't include Fraggle Rock in this. I know people out there are going to hate me because I consider the Muppets as the Muppet cast, not just Muppetized puppeteering, if that makes sense.
Miss Piggy, Kermit, Fozzie, Swedish Chef.
Now, mind you, they do go on Sesame Street and do it, but like I'm not picking Big Bird in this list just for an example because he's a Sesame Street character. So if we did a Sesame Street episode, of course we'd have Elmo and Oscar and all that. So I am sticking to Muppets that were in the Muppet movies and their whole crew, if that makes sense.
Okay,
so
fair enough.
I do also have one that I think who you would be in my eyes as a Muppet.
Okay, let's start with that.
Okay, so I think you're Bobo the Bear.
Oh, dude, that's exactly who my pick would have been for myself.
Oh, really? Just big,
yes,
sort of angry looking, but you're cuddly. Yes. You like bears and both pride flag and regular bears.
Yep.
I just see that as you.
We had this amazing post today where we put out, or yesterday, I guess, if you were a Muppet, which one would you be? Mm-hmm. And dude, we got like 30 comments on it, which isn't like crazy amount of comments, but really for the amount of people that we didn't follow and don't follow us, we actually got pretty good traction on this post. Mm-hmm. And so some of the people put, some characters on here. And like some people chose Fraggle Rock and some people chose like Sesame Street and all that sort of stuff. But I was thinking about it. I was like, well, who the hell would I be? And so I chose, because I choose as a dome phrase. I chose in this scenario Fozzie Bear, just because I think that he's a good like wingman. And I also chose Bobo the Bear. Now, personality-wise, I think I'm more Bobo the Bear, but comedy-wise, I think I'm more Fozzie, just because I think I'm funnier than I am. And so, like, waka, 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 right? So I kind of chose that. Who did you choose for yourself?
Captain Link Hogthrob.
I don't even know who.
Which you have to look him up, which is the best. He's an old school. He's from Muppets at Night. He was the pig commander from Muppets in Space. And he's a total douche. But there's a few reasons. Of course,
it would have to be a pig.
Yeah, it's a pig. Two, the worst part is, though, like when you're looking up a character and you remember him and you're like, oh, and then it's like, I don't know if it was like written recently, but it says he hates women. He's misogynist, but they wrote misogynistic or piganist. I don't know. They try to be clever with a lot of words. And I guess Miss Piggy knocks him down a few notches, but I don't know. I related to that, like, because I thought of this. I did this in two ways, B-Word. One, I thought of you, like your character. I thought of my own character. Then I thought of if it was me and you on the show, though, who we would be. And I'm Rizzo the Rat to your Grover.
Yes. Right. Yes. 100%.
That's where I went for that. Like if it was 100%. Just us as a show, that's who we are.
Right.
But by myself, I'm Captain Link Hogthrob.
Okay. Well, my first introduction to Bobo the Bear was actually in Muppets from Space. He was the security guard or whatever it was for the villain, and I'm losing the villain's name right now. But long story short, I just really thought that the bear was really cool. And I like literally my favorite animal is a bear. So like I'm totally down for that. So to kind of separate this out though, I know we're talking about Muppets, but is there a Sesame Street character that you identify with the most?
For myself, Oscar the Grouch. Like as I'm older, younger, I was a total Elmo. Elmo's wrong. I was totally
dude.
Elmo.
I totally see you as Elmo. See you as Elmo.
People think I'm stupid, but I'm really not. You know that B-word, but it's that thing. I'm comical. I'm wild. Well, whatever. Fuck you. I'm wild. I'm comical. I'm loud. I got an annoying voice.
Yes.
Kids love me. Moms really love me. Shout out Bobby. But adult men hate me.
Okay.
Adult, I guess. And the funny thing is like a big fan, and shout out to I had to say it. Aaron Deshotel said, everybody thinks he's the Swedish chef, and I get that a lot too, just because we're chefs. But I mean, I don't walk around like, you know what I mean? I'm not right. I don't look like that. I don't have a mustache. I don't have a big nose. I don't any of that. But yeah, I guess if it was Sesame Street, I would do that. Like, who would you be?
Well, so for me, I really identify with Cookie Monster, number one, because I'm a fat ass who likes cookies. But number two, I just really think that it's a cool character. And I really hated when the Obamas tried to get rid of him and tried to get in the Veggie Monster. And that's not a political comment from me, but I will just tell you, the moment that you're trying to get rid of the fucking Cookie Monster, I will never vote for your ass ever again. So that has no bearing on whatever political things that you think of. But all hail the Cookie Monster. So definitely Cookie Monster. I've never like identified with Kermit the Frog, like on any level, But if I'm going to talk about strictly Sesame Street characters, like Mr. Snuffleupagus is the fucking most awesome. Snuffy. Because originally Snuffy was a daydreamer, a figment of Big Bird's imagination.
Yeah, and he was his imaginary friend, right?
Yeah, and somehow he became like this main character that everybody can see, which really just bothered me. But I would like to identify with the imaginary friend Snuffleupagus because I think he's dope.
I also like the two aliens though that don't speak and just look like glitter socks. Like, beep, beep, beep. I love those. Yep. But as a child, my favorite Sesame Street Muppet was the two-headed monster with the horns.
Oh, okay.
And they would argue with each other. I don't know why. I just liked those two. it was just something about him. No, I had a cool thing. Like my grandma, who was a fan of the show, shout out Guac. She said she'd be Miss Piggy, so I guess the pig thing runs in the family.
Dude, my mom is the biggest fan of Miss Piggy. Like she follows her on like all the socials, and we'll share her posts. It is so funny. My mom, since I was a kid, has always been a big fan of Miss Piggy, which I also think is a reason why I've never identified with Kermit, because like,
right,
Kermit's supposed to get with Miss Piggy, and that's not me.
We've already had an episode 2 describing your friend Kermit when he saw Miss Piggy on stage.
Yes. Amazing.
Shout out to the old back catalog. Go check out Kermit. Find Thanos eating a burger in a brothel. If you haven't yet, fans.
Amazing story. So what's next on your rundown?
So next we're going to let's go with, so there's been a lot of movies, and we're going to break down later in the show the top 5 like Muppet movies that we have on our list that have been made, in our opinion. But if you could take a movie, like a story, a movie or something, and make it happen with Muppetize it, sort of like they did with Treasure Island or Christmas Carol, what movie are you doing? Why? You can cast it too if you want, but like how which one you picking, and what's your reasoning behind it, B-Word? So
I have 2. And the reason why I have 2 is because they're from 2 different genres. So it really depends on if you're going to allow one genre or not. And then that would kind of determine what it would be. My first one would be in the vein of the musicals. It would be the movie Grease. I could see Kermit as Danny Zuko. I could see Miss Piggy as Rizzo. I could see, other people, other Muppets, I guess, as different characters. And I think that would be a fun one for a Muppet movie. But for me, I would really like to see Pulp Fiction. I think Pulp Fiction would be an amazing film, Muppetized. I think it would be a comedy, but one of my favorite movies here, bro, and we're going to talk about this because I know you don't like the movie after I recommended it to you, is the Happy Time Murders. And the Happy Time Murders is made by, I want to say it's Jim Henson's son. It's either his son or like his nephew or something. Regardless, it's the Henson name. And like Jim Henson Enterprises or whatever that was like not a huge fan of him doing this movie because it was vulgar. Now you talked about, like titties in a Muppet movie. And the Happy Time Murders starts with a cow getting jacked off with all 6 udders in a Muppet porn shop. And you just don't get any better than that, dude. But
I guess you don't get better than that, but I don't know. It's just not. It's funny, B-Word, because I like bad movies, right? But the way I put it is, you like bad pop culture movies, like the ones that are popular, if that makes sense, like the ones in the mainstream. And I like the ones that nobody's ever fucking heard of.
Speaking of the ones that nobody's fucking ever heard of, you recommended me, because I read, with this rundown coming down, I recommended you watching the Happy Time Murders, which thank you for watching it. It was probably the 5th time I've told you to watch the movie. Mm-hmm. But then you said, hey, watch this YouTube series. Bro, I've watched Hidden Tiger, Fatty Dragon, Skinny Tiger, Fatty Dragon. I've watched some terrible movies for this podcast, okay? And this web series is fucking horrible, dude. It's horrible. You actually had to tell me about like the Cliff's Notes version of walk you through it. And so I watched that this afternoon, which was more entertaining than what I ever watched. But you want to tell the audience about this stupid ass show that you watched?
Yeah, Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared is like a creepypasta hidden internet gem, like Salad Fingers, and in that vein, right? Of like, it's WTF moments to a T. I just love it. I don't know. It's with puppets. And all right, I'm going to be very candid with you, viewer. The honesty is going to come out. You told me to watch Happy Time Murders, and I have not wanted to watch this movie. Hence, like you said, this is about the 5th time. So, fuck him. If he's going to make me watch this, I'm going to send him on a quest to watch Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. No, it really has nothing to do with Muppets. No, all it is puppets, and it's messed up, and it's musical, and you're just going to be like, I hate Jake right now. The only good thing was each episode's maybe sometimes like 3 to 6 minutes long because it's essentially one song.
Weren't. But I made it through 2 episodes. 2.
Yeah.
That was it. That was enough for me. I didn't really care, and more or less because I just didn't understand it, dude. Like,
and
after I watched the spoiler videos or the review videos, I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. Like, that's a interesting thing of art. Like, it's not my cup of tea, but whatever.
See, fine. I'm mad because you didn't get to the episode, my favorite episode, the one where they're singing about food. I just love that episode for some reason. And my wife walked in while I was watching it, and she's like, "What the hell are you watching?" And I told her, she goes, "Yeah, no." And she just walked out. Like, and that's happened a lot in my life where she just walks in like Skinny Tiger, Fatty Dragon. She's like, "No, we're not watching the Hi-Ya channel tonight." But I don't know. It's fun. I mean, it's the epitome of anti-advertisement, right? Which, I mean, they're coming out with finally, I think 3 years later, they're finally coming out with new episodes September 22nd. So I'm excited for that.
Good for you, man. I'm happy that you'll be able to watch that. But before we get into your movie rankings, I do want to shout out some people or not rankings, but your movie castings. I do want to shout out a couple people here on Twitter.
Okay.
We have Cody from the Dungeons and Podcasts and he's not the only one, but he's one of the few here that said One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I think that would be a pretty cool Muppet film. Seismic Cinema was the only person who said this, and they said Starship Troopers. I thought that was pretty cool. Whiskey Hell, John Wick. There was a couple people who chose Pulp Fiction, which I think is a good one. Phantom Jukebox said Kill Bill. I think any Tarantino film with Muppets is probably badass.
I guess the question of that is, in the same vein, just to stop you there for a second before you read some more. John Wick and Kill Bill, right? Main character. Now, mind you, Kill Bill's a woman. John Wick's a man. Whatever anymore. But who are you making the lead killing Muppet in those?
That's a good question. I like John Wick. I almost want it to be Beaker. I just
really
could you imagine Beaker
yes,
with
now I can
Beaker with the dog, and all of a sudden he's like meow, 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 and he just kills everybody. I think it'd just be fucking badass, dude. I think it would just be amazing. Or Swedish Chef. If you have
you just want somebody that can't talk. Okay, so I agree with Beaker pick, but my favorite one though, if I could go in the Sesame Street one, is the Count. Because one guy is dead. Like every time he kills somebody.
That would be that would be badass. That would be badass.
Kill Bill.
Like,
sorry. Go ahead.
Well, Rolf the dog, dude. Like could you imagine if Rolf like had a pet dog, and all of a sudden somebody killed his dog, and Rolf is just killing everybody? I think that would be cool.
See, but I think story wise. Well, hold on, because you just did the Rolf dog thing, and it got me thinking. Grover has to be John Wick. And because they kill Rizzo, his little rat buddy.
Oh,
and then he goes on revenge.
Badass.
And not that I always have to have Grover, or I mean, not Grover, sorry, Gonzo in everything, but I think it just makes sense. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, Gonzo. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
So for Kill Bill, though, I don't have a casting for who?
Janice. She's the blonde stoner chick. See,
and I'm not going with that. I'm going with who Bill is, and it's the prawn that was introduced.
The prawn, really?
He's Kill Bill. He is Bill. He's the old guy at the end who gets punched, and he's just sitting there with his four arms. What's his name again?
Do like Statler or Waldorf? The two old guys up in the little box.
Because if you watch the prawn, he's always confused, and just if you could see him get 5-finger death punched at the table, he'd be like, "Wow, what is happening?" Like, it would be great.
I could see that.
I don't know.
I could see that.
I see Janice. That's a great pick there. Those are good ones. Do you have any more shout outs before?
Yeah, I have a couple more just because there were some really good ones. A few people said Ocean's 11, which I thought was a good pick.
That's killer.
Yeah, but one of the most interesting ones that I read here was The Mask. Jim Carrey's The Mask. I think that would have been a really cool one as Muppets.
How? That's the only one I don't. And I'm sorry, whoever wrote that. I'm sorry. I'm going to shit on this idea. So, but I'm not shitting on you. But how? It's already fictionalized and cartoonized.
Sure. And you're not going to make it CGI. Like, I don't remember who asked us on Twitter, but they're like, "Is it CGI?" No, it's not fucking CGI. It's puppets. So you wouldn't do a CGI mask on the mask, right? On the main character. But I could see like it being Kermit as the mask, and like he puts on a mask and then a bigger puppet of Kermit comes out, almost like a Kermit Hulk, and he just acts as the mask.
See, I went the other way, and now I'm going to call the movie The Glove, and somebody's going to put their hand up Kermit's ass and become a giant Kermit Hulk. And it's like that scene when he's looking at the mask and he's just looking at his hand and he goes to reach in Kermit's butt. And then he spins around the room and his mom walks in and everybody's ashamed.
Or what if it was live action? What if it was live action and they put on a mask and he turns into Kermit?
Well, see, I that's the first thought I had. And then I decided to go fisting on the spectrum again. But I don't know. I mean, that's the hardest one for me. And like I said, I love the interaction of this. Like, it was funny, B-Word. This is probably one of the times we've had the most interaction in a short amount of time before we recorded.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we don't always post before, but it was fun to see how many people like really related and in all veins too. But
yeah.
So if I was going to do a movie, I had a few levels of thought on this. So the first one was a movie that actually doesn't even exist.
That doesn't count,
you'll understand,
bro.
Well, and that's why I'm just going to name it, but I'm going to move on from it. Okay. And so you, just like you asked me to watch Happy Time Murders, I've been begging you to watch The Office for years.
Right.
And you finally are. I don't know what season you're in right now, but eventually you're going to get to one where Michael Scott creates a movie called Threat Level Midnight.
Okay.
And when you get to that, you will chuckle in the future. So you'll have to back catalog this, but just that movie alone because they have a whole episode based on the movie would be great with the Muppets. The second thought I had is what's one of the worst movies on the planet? I don't know if you've heard of it, The Room. With they made
Jodie Foster.
No, The Room is with a nobody, and then James Franco and his brother made a parody movie with Seth Rogen about the creation of it, and it's literally B-Word. If you look it up and watch it, it's one of the worst movies on the planet. And so I was like, okay. That'd be fun.
Jodie Foster.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Was it Safe? Panic Room. Jodie Foster started Panic Room.
Yeah, no. Go look up clips of The Room after this, and you'll text me right after and you'll go, Jake, I hate you again. That was the other thought, but really, I want to do the Ghostbusters.
Oh, that's a great pick.
I want to do Ghostbusters Muppet version. Of course, Beckman's Kermit.
Okay.
Fozzie Bear is Dan Aykroyd's character.
Okay.
Spangler's Gonzo. Hudson's Rolf the dog. Miss Piggy is the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Rizzo is the
secretary.
He's what's his name? The guy who
who comes out of the
Rick
painting.
Moranis.
Oh, yeah.
Rick Moranis. Animal is the dogs, the hell dogs.
Okay.
You just get animals running all over the place. But that's really, I really thought that in depth, and I was like, oh, that would be awesome.
That's actually a really good pick, dude.
I would love to see them chase the Ghostbusters.
I am not upset with you at all about that. I think that's a really good pick.
Yeah. Oh, and the only other one I thought is, you remember well, of course you remember Ghostbusters. Remember the EPA like asshole guy who tries to shut him down?
Yeah.
That's the bald eagle character who's the judge and the dickhead all the time.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But the whole point of the movie, too, is they're trying to chase those two old dudes, Walter and the ghost from Muppets Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
And they're flying around and they're trying not to get caught. And it's almost like Stan Lee cameo scenes for the Ghostbusters.
Statler and Waldorf.
Yes. Whenever the Ghostbusters try to get them, they're like sitting in the library like, hey, what about us? Like, I love those two dudes too. But no, that I really thought of that. The only difference was I was thinking, okay, Muppets has to be a kid movie. So then you're like, okay, because the Ghostbusters, I mean, it's a kid movie, but it's not you know what I mean? Like, because you look at most Muppet movies besides your Abomination film that you made us watch. Muppets from Space, Treasure Island stuff. So I went with The Sword and the Stone.
Okay.
I think The Sword and the Stone would be good. And the story of Excalibur, but essentially played in more of the vein of Disney, how they did it. I think you can have Kermit, baby Kermit. You can have a whole bunch of people. I think the cast would fit well. It would be one of the films where you don't have to have people in with the Muppets. You could do it all Muppet. Because when you watch Muppets, B-Word, and I just said Muppet a lot in that short amount of time. Do you like your Muppets to have people in them? and not their hand? Or do you like the Muppets movie to be all Muppets?
You continued saying Muppets. Well, I think I don't really care as long as it meshes with the storyline. When we talked earlier about the Happy Time murders, there was live action actors, and then there were Muppets.
Elizabeth Banks.
Mm-hmm. Elizabeth Banks is great. I want to stick my bicycle in her ass.
Bicycle? Hold on. Was that one of those moments where you didn't know what to say, and that was the
that's off of the 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Oh, I don't remember that part. I just
remember
bags of sand when he's describing boobs.
Oh yeah, bags of sand. See, the 40-Year-Old Virgin would be great with Muppets too, if I'm being honest. So if we're talking about live, and so I liked the live action. I liked it with the Muppets with Jason Segel. I liked the Happy Time Murders with what's her nuts. So Elizabeth Banks, but I don't remember who the main character's name is in that. Regardless, yes, thank you. I like that because it kind of gives you that. It's a good story the way that it's told. But you mentioned that the Happy Time Murders is very much like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And I like stories like that as long as they're creative. So I actually like the new Chip and Dale for that reason, is because it did have that Who Framed Roger Rabbit's kind of story arc there. However, I do like Muppet movies with just Muppets. But what is your preference on that?
Just Muppets. I have that breaking the fourth wall sort of. It's hard because it's like the scenes with people feel really forced in the sense of, it's like when CGI was first coming out, like being really good, right? Where you had actors wearing the tennis balls all over their body, and they were like, what's his name? Who played Smeagol?
Yep.
And now he's a director, but where it exposes bad actors. And so I feel like in those movies too, they're usually lower budget in a sense that you're not going to get the highest quality of actors. Mind you, get cameos and stuff, so I get that. But they also know they're acting with a puppet. So I think that affects the storytelling.
Is this why you don't like Sesame Street?
Oh, I like Sesame Street. I actually loved Sesame Street as a kid. I just don't follow it now. But
I don't follow it now either. Ever since Michelle Obama tried to create the Veggie Monster, like I was done. I'm like, okay, we don't need to watch Sesame Street.
So I don't know. It's hard for me when there's characters, because it almost feels like every scene's the Donald Trump scene in Home Alone 2.
Yeah.
Where it's just forced, and it's like, oh, we have a celebrity here. It's like, oh, look, there's Shaquille O'Neal. Hey guys, over there's Big Bird, go get him. And then you're like, oh my God, he was in the movie. And you're like, oh, 2 seconds that nobody cares about. Like, that's how I feel the whole movie is with most people. Even when you get a character, because like I hate, just being honest, I watch a lot of kid movies with my kids, right? And Hop, I think it's terrible because it's half CGI rabbits and it's half humans. I don't want to watch the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, even though I hear it's pretty decent, because I just have a hard time with that. Like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, I think did a great job and it introduced me, and I'm happy with that. Cool World, the adult version, I liked it, but I like cartoons more than puppets, even though I like puppets.
Okay,
so my Muppet movies should be all Muppets all day.
Are you a man or are you a Muppet?
I'm no biologist, but I'm a man.
This is getting like borderline political, and none of the comments that we're making are actually regarding politics. It's amazing.
Veggie Monster and biology.
We have said the Obamas, Michelle Obama, Donald Trump, and now I'm no biologist. So fantastic.
I'm sorry, but I'm trying to segue out of the politic part. But I will say, with your movie, the way I was going to do it was terrible, Beaver. That's why I had to stop you and you stopped me, is because all I was going to say was rotten cotton, because that was my favorite line.
Wasn't that awesome? You want some rotten cotton?
You want some rotten cotton? I'm a woman. Oh, okay, that could be cool too. I was just like, oh man, that was probably my favorite scene from that. You know what scene I hated in that movie? The silly string cum.
Silly string, that was a bit much.
Here's the thing. I don't mind jokes. Okay. I have a good sense of humor. We all know that. I don't like jokes that go on too long.
Yeah.
Like in the sense of where it's like, oh, it was funny. Hey, you know what would be funnier? Is if we did it for 8 more minutes. And for those of you turning the episode off right now, please don't. The show will get funnier. We will do this for 8 more minutes. But you know what I mean, though? It was like, okay, he did it. I didn't find it that funny. I get it. And then it decided to continue on. Right. And then I felt that was the whole movie. And then I felt this is how B-Word feels when I make him watch movies I like.
That's true.
And it's just, true. I don't know. It just didn't fit. I think that surprises you, though. I think you really thought I was going to like this. And I think it was... You know what was funny? It's come full circle, B-Word. We've talked that we've been friends for now
30 years. How many almost?
Years? 30 years?
Yeah.
That you introduced me to a puppet movie that you adored. Yeah. Muppets from Space. And now that we're adults,
Terminator.
You're introducing me to a puppet movie that you adore. That's right? For adults. So either your sense of humor hasn't changed and you never grew up, or you want to fuck a puppet.
I mean, there's pros and cons to both, right? So, no, my sense of humor hasn't really changed all that much. I'm just going to default with that. I stay consistent.
Let me ask you this, okay? I'm going to do it. Would you want to get some rotten cotton? Because I know how you are about animation. You give me crap for Babs. Do you have a Muppet that you are like, hey, yeah, I could see that happening?
So. Again, pause. There has to be some sort of rules or some sort of expectations here, because remember, Muppets have hands on the inside of them. So whose hand is on the inside of me getting rotten cotton? I think that plays a pivotal part in if I'm getting rotten cotton or not.
As your best friend, if you needed me to be there for you.
Oh, pride flag.
And I'm gonna, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do it as Elmo and say, tickle me. Oh my God, I'm so sorry for that moment, B-Word. But okay, you didn't answer the question though. So okay, you can pick whoever's hand you want in there then. Carmen Electra,
as long as it's an appropriate hand, I'm getting rotten cotton.
But you're staring at the Muppet's eyes.
That's fine.
Okay, so which Muppet though?
Oh, I don't know.
See?
I don't know. I didn't get that far into this.
Well, you should.
I know it's not. I know it's not going to be Sweetums. Annie Sue Pig.
Okay. I was going to say, if you picked who I thought you were going to pick, I was going to be like, oh, that tells me enough about yourself. I thought you were going to pick
Camilla the chicken. Okay,
so you're going with a female. I thought you were going to go with Bobo the bear. And then I was going to say, you must jerk off in front of the mirror, B-Word.
No Bobo. No Bobo.
I'm sorry, I did not. Hey, we took this episode from Muppets to Happy Time Murders, dude.
We did.
So let's try to get this train back on track. Top 5 Muppet movies of all time. I don't know if you have them in particular. I'm sure you do, because top 5, you should have a particular order. I have no honorable mentions tonight. Do you have any honorable mentions? And why?
My only honorable mention has already been talked about multiple times, and that's the Happy Time Murders. And the reason why it's an honorable mention is because it's technically not a Muppet movie.
Oh, fuck off. Then, okay, mine's The Dark Crystal's number 1 because Jim Henson did it, but it's not a Muppet movie.
I said it's an honorable mention, cocksucker.
I don't care.
I didn't say it's ranked.
That just pisses me off. Well, I hate the movie. It shouldn't make any list.
The Happy Time Murders is amazing, and there's people that have watched it that are listening to this show that will agree with me. There's probably people that don't agree with me.
There are people that usually agree with you. They love to get me going, but every now and then I'll have one or two. I beg, there's one fan out there that's going to tell me that I'm correct. It'll probably be my grandma, because she'll think it's inappropriate if she's made it this far in the episode.
If she got past me jerking off with a Muppet with somebody else's hand, she'll probably agree with you.
Well, I'm glad that we clarified that all you're doing is jerking off the Muppet, for one. 2, I'm glad we clarified the
I said jerking off with a Muppet. I didn't say I'm jerking the Muppet off.
I'm so sorry. This is going way too far. Oh, I'd be hard to have to laugh this hard in a long time. Because now all I imagine is there's so many colors in the rainbow. Pride flag. Okay. All right. Do you know what? On that, I'm throwing out my number 5. Muppets Take Manhattan.
Okay, number 5 for you.
Yeah, one of the last ones I saw. Okay, and I'll candidly throw it out. I have not watched the new one with Jason Segel. Or the one that came out in 2014. Here's why. I have a hard time. It's like you with cartoons. I have a hard time connecting back with it. So it's like, you said you can't watch Muppet Babies. I could watch Muppet Babies now. I love cartoons. I have a hard time reconnecting with the Muppets like you do in a new age film.
I will tell you right now, The Muppets, which was with Jason Segel, is on my list. And we'll get into where it's ranked on my list. But it's an amazing movie. If you remember Forgetting Sarah Marshall, where at the end he's doing that Count Dracula with the Muppets. That's where he got into the Muppets. Like that.
Didn't he buy part of them?
I think he owns part of like Jim Henson Enterprises or whatever it is, like or as an investor or something. Mm-hmm. Like it's really weird to think that Jason Segel, a man who showed his cock multiple times in a movie with Muppets in it, no less, became actually one of the biggest advocates of Muppets. So, but yeah, that's ranked high. But so Muppets Take Manhattan's your number 5. Mine was actually a TV movie.
Okay.
So it wasn't one of those direct to DVD, and it wasn't like a big screen feature. Mine is the Muppets Wizard of Oz. Okay. I thought that they did a good job. They had good casting. It gave the storyline of the Wizard of Oz. So I was pretty happy with it. So it made my number 5.
See, it doesn't make my list because I love the original Wizard of Oz so much.
Right.
That it's like, it's one of those things like, because there's another one on my list when we get to it. I have talked about on this show that I like the other a different version of it way better. And it's really making sense with the way we've talked this through.
Another reason why you wouldn't like it is because Ashanti was in it. And not saying that you don't like Ashanti, but it came back to that. Do you have live action characters with Muppets or not?
That's another thing. Because the movies I picked that are closer to the top, there is characters that are humans in them because that's a common theme. But more often than not, it's like 80% Muppets on screen compared to maybe one human or none at all. So besides the hands in their ass. Number 2, The Great Muppet Caper. I think it's just a decent, good Muppet movie. Makes sense. Good, easy storyline. It's one of those theory of two. It reminds me, and I don't know why. I think it's just because they have nothing to do with each other, but Pee-wee's Big Adventure and The Great Muppet Caper, I've always put in same just because there's bikes on the cover, I think. You know, when you correlate things together for no reason. When I was a little boy, that's what I thought of. And I wasn't allowed to watch Pee-wee, so I was like, okay, this will make do.
It also came out right about the same time as Pee-wee too. Like I think I think the Great Muppet Caper came out in like 81 or 82. Mm-hmm. So, and Pee-wee came out in the early 80s as well. So I would agree with that. I think it's kind of nostalgic that way. I like the Great Muppet Caper. It didn't make my list. Muppets Take Manhattan's my number 4. So you're number 5, my number 4. I think we're close enough right now to where we may have some similarities in our top 5, but yeah, the Muppets Take Manhattan, I just think it was a really good movie. It was a unique storyline. You know, there's just not much to say about it. It's a good movie, but it's definitely number 4 on my list.
I think that the next 2 are going to be flip-flopped for us. So my 3 will be your 2 and vice versa. You know what I mean? But my next one is Muppets Treasure Island.
Not on my list.
Okay. The reason is I love the story of Treasure Island. I like pirates. I think out of the movies, it's actually it's one of the better production value ones, if that makes sense for Muppets. Yeah. They upped the game. It came out a little later. And I just felt they did a story justice based on how Muppets are. As good as they could. There's better versions of Treasure Island all around and in many different tellings.
That's why it didn't make my list.
Yeah.
But because I like other Treasure Islands better. Kind of like your Wizard of Oz.
I like that movie better than most other Muppet movies, though, which is why it's like, okay, I got to throw it there because I'd rather watch that than most of the other ones that are out there. And I candidly would say I'd probably like Jason Segel's 2011 Muppets, but I haven't been able to connect back to it. Maybe I'll watch it now, but if that's your number 3, then my theory was wrong as well. So
my number 3 is actually Muppets Christmas Carol. I think Muppets Christmas Carol is can make a number of lists. Number one, it can make your top Christmas movie list. My top Christmas movie list tends to change each year. So there's some years it's on there, some years it's not. I just think it's a really good storyline. I like the story of A Christmas Carol just in general. I think it has some good things and some good wisdom to teach the audience. But I also think that, depending upon how you cast it, it could be really good. And I liked the fact that they casted it the way that they did. I like the storylines in it. I just think it's a really good show, a really good movie. So that's my number 3.
So my theory was half right, because my number 2 is A Christmas Carol.
Okay.
It's not number 1 because, as I've stated before, Mickey's Christmas Carol, I think, is head and shoulders above that. That's also animation. Okay. I think Disney did a better job. You don't break the fourth wall because Scrooge is played by a human character, which I think makes sense for the movie, especially, right. But it is also hard sometimes. Like, I think out of them, though, like the Muppets Christmas Carol got certain characters right.
Okay.
And other characters that were just like, but they got some very right. Like Kermit was perfect for,
right.
And then Tiny Tim, his son, which makes sense because, but it couldn't make number 1 because I already have another favorite above it, in the sense of a Christmas Carol. But again, this is production value. This is a better movie. This had more Muppets on screen, in my opinion, like based on actual characters that made sense. The other thing, when I think of Muppet movies, I think of singing.
Right.
And, I mean, Carol's in the name, but it makes sense. And so I felt it still held the kid nostalgia with a little bit of adult nuance, but not too over the top.
Okay. No, I'm good with all of that. I don't think that those are bad picks at all. My number 2. Did you say your number 2 already? You didn't say your number 2.
That was my number 2. Christmas Carol.
Okay. So my number 2 is The Muppets 2011, Jason Segel. I think it's an amazing film. I've already said this. You've got a star-studded cast. You've got Jason Segel, Amy Adams, Zach Galifianakis, Jack Black, Ken Jeong. You've got a whole ton of people here, right, that are starring in this movie. You've got Rolf, voiced by Seth Rogen, which I think is just a phenomenal voice character for Rolf. Good storyline. There was that song, "Am I a Man or Am I a Muppet?" came from that, and I do think that the songs in the shows or in the movies have to be memorable. You know what I mean? Like they have to; those have to hit in order for the story to hit. And I thought that was a really good story. I encourage you to watch the Muppets. I got a kick out of it. You're not a big Muppet guy, especially when there's live action, so I'm not going to say you're going to love it, but I think you're going to like it.
Okay,
so you should watch it at least.
This boils down to where it all started, because my number 1 I know is your number 1 because this was when you were a child, and I guarantee you it hasn't changed. Is Muppets from Space.
Muppets from Space is my number 1.
That is the best Muppet movie, especially when Muppet. I know, but I was trying to. Well, there was a whole lot of things because also the word MacGuffin came in too, because I was trying not to say, because I was about to say the MacGuffin of the story is we're finding out who Grover or Gonzo is.
Right.
And it was one of those questions I never had, and I never knew I needed to know. But then I was so invested. Hence why it's the best Muppet movie. It's original. It was like,
it's a great Muppet movie.
What's a Gonzo? And I'm like, I don't fucking care. And then I'm like, oh, now I need to know, where does Gonzo come from? It's like finding out where Yoda comes from. Like, okay, let's figure this out all together. And it's just great. It's a great film. Production value high, made in our timeline of being a child. It hit all the perfect points for our age demographic and everything. But I'm going to let you explain the reason this is the best Muppet movie, sort of because it'll remind me of when we were kids and you told me why this was the best Muppet movie. And you have a better understanding, I think, because you showed me this. So, B-Word, why is this the best Muppet movie?
So I love this Muppet movie because, like you said, Gonzo has to go on this quest to find out, who he is, where he's from, all of this sort of stuff. But it offers more than just Gonzo's story. It offers kind of this paramilitary, like CIA storyline that, is there. Jeffrey Tambor is actually the villain. That's the name that I was forgetting earlier. Jeffrey Tambor is just a great actor. I'm just going to put that out there right now. But you had some great characters in there. You had Gonzo's mesh with other puppets, specifically Rizzo the Rat. That was just this really good pair, or really good casting storyline buddy team up, if you will. I just really liked it as a kid. But to be honest with you, dude, like, not to get sentimental here or anything, when I think of our childhood or our youth days of actually like starting to watch movies together and stuff, like, this is the movie that I think of. I think of two movies. I think of Terminator, and I think of Muppets from Space. Those are the two movies that really kind of set off our relationship as far as movies go. And so for that reason alone, I have to put it at number one.
Yeah, it's funny. I can remember the room. I can remember you had clothes all over your living room.
I did.
It was one of the few movies you want. Well, here's the other weird thing, Beard. It was one of the few movies you wanted to watch in your living room and not in your bedroom.
Because I had a bigger TV. Not that it was bigger.
That's what amazed. That's what amazed. When we weren't watching the Terminator sex scene and turning it off and playing video games, but it was the fact that was like we sat on the floor and watched that right in front of the TV, and it just and we're in 9th grade, mind you, but it's also like I don't know. We were kids being kids still, because we were kids. Having kids, you realize that. Yeah.
It's before we really kind of hit that maturity level. Like, not to say that we matured in high school. Like, I still think that we haven't matured. I mean, you can rewind this episode and find out that we haven't matured. But it was one of those. I guess it was probably one of those last times that I could remember being an adolescent. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, it was just a really good feel good time. So, and we didn't masturbate with Muppets, so that was nice too.
As I said, though, you need a friend. You got a friend.
So, speaking of that song and those lyrics, I mean, that's a literal thing.
Yeah. You got a friend in me. You're just a hand in my ass. All right, I'll stop. I'm sorry, B-word. Oh, that was fun. I don't know. I don't love the Muppets as much as you do. I'll close on that.
Well, but I got a final question for you before we end, bro.
Okay.
So, who's the best Muppet character?
Kermit. And I know it's a cop out. It's like, choosing Tom Cruise for like a best actor during a certain timeline, right? But I mean, he's in everything. I'd relate to him more. Like, I want to say Animal because he's fun and crazy, and he's in commercials, and he does one thing, but it's not a very in-depth character,
right?
I think Kermit has it all. He can sing. He's got the woman. He's had all the love life that we've went through. He's had the, oh, I hate her, let me push her. Oh, I'm dating her. Oh, I want her. Oh, I'm married, I want to be out. Oh, I'm married, I want to be in. Like, you know what I mean? He's got the kids. I just think Kermit has it all. Just being upfront.
For me, it's Kermit as well, because for all those reasons, but also because Kermit transcends, in my opinion. Kermit's been in Sesame Street. Kermit's been on commercials. Kermit is everywhere, right? Kermit is probably the most identifiable Muppet. So for that reason, I'd probably have to say Kermit. I think that he is a great character for what he is. He's recognizable. His songs are recognizable. His voice sounds like Patrick Mahomes. So I think that it's really good for him to be the face of the Muppets, and I will second what you said there.
Yeah, I mean, and it sucks because like you usually don't want to go with the top dog, right? Like you usually want to. It'd be like saying like Bugs Bunny's the best Looney Tune, right? In the sense like because he's the face. Right. But you look at all the other characters, and mind you, some Muppet characters need another Muppet around them to make, like Rizzo the Rat, for example, right? Needs Grover.
He needs Gonzo.
Or Gonzo. I keep saying Grover. I got Grover on the
Miss
fucking.
Piggy needs Grover. Kermit.
But like Snuffy needs Big Bird, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to have certain characters that need him, or you also have some that are just so one dimensional. There's not like Swedish Chef. There's just not enough there that makes, or Meep. Well, Meeker.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's got the doctor friend. I can't remember his name. Little squinty bald guy. But you know what I mean? Like they're still not they're the sense of like side characters, right? Like Bobo the Bear, side character, like great cameo. Felt like he was made just to be made just for a scene instead of he was made to be a Muppet. I mean, there's a reason if you look at all the Muppet cases, which I did because I needed to go through the movies again, right? There's a set crew on there. And I know a lot of people might argue with us that, Miss Piggy's the best or Fozzie Bear is the best. But I think it would come down to 4 of which one's the best. I think majority of the time you're going to get Kermit as the number one rival or reigning champion.
I'd agree with that, man. Yeah. Well, good rundown. This was fun.
Thank you.
This rundown actually brought me to my childhood, preparing for this and just trying to reflect on some movies that obviously were really good in our childhood. Obviously, the memories that we have around some of these movies. Very good choice, dude. I hope the audience really enjoyed this. I hope the audience actually kind of gives us some feedback on this one. This one would be fun. So with that, dude, what do you got for us?
Thanks for all the dirty talk, and come back and get sanitized.